my tweet and we'll see if anybody's watching. Put you over here. 8 people. It's not 1,000 people on Twitch with John Papa, but it's something. All right. Can people see you? They cannot. How do I do that? Say something so they can see you talking.
Hello there, everybody. Anybody see me? Because my picture doesn't have a switch. I noticed that.
Wonder why I'm not. There you are. Okay, good. So when you talk, it does switch to your camera. Cool.
Okay. All right. Good stuff.
All right. Cool. Interesting. It's so interesting. When I do the community stand-up, we get like 300 people, 200 people show up, and then when you and I go on, it's like 12 people. It's all good though. We'll get them on the recordings. There we go. Okay, cool. Hey friends, it's me, Scott Hanselman, and I'm talking with Mark Downie. How are you, sir?
Hi, good. How about yourself?
Lovely. It's 4 o'clock where I'm at. You are at 7 o'clock afternoon, evening for you?
Evening, yeah, 7:20.
All righty. Thank you for taking time out of your evening. I'm going to share my screen, and we're going to go and look at some of the cool stuff that you've been working on, because it's gotten pretty big, pretty fast, which just makes me happy. So you are github.com/papastring. You play bass?
Yes, bass and a little bit of guitar.
Yeah. I've been watching your Instagram. And you took DasBlog, which you and I still work on and both run. We're the 2 remaining DOS bloggers out there, right? Yeah. And I'm running one of your builds of DasBlog right now on my blog. And you have forked it and reimagined it, which I think is lovely, with ASP.NET Core.
Right.
What is going on here? I recognize this bit. Newtelligence was the company that Clemens Vasters worked for. And this is all the original DasBlog that I still run. Did you just, is this the same stuff as .NET Standard?
It's a lot of the same stuff. So what I realized, .NET Standard 2 changed the game tremendously, right? So we could reach into code that was 20 years old, almost 20 years old in this instance, and just kind of put a layer of ASP.NET Core MVC on top of it and reach down into all the old stuff that was being used in DasBlog. So part of what I was thinking was, we've tied to this idea of .aspx, Windows form world, web form world, very, very specifically. It really can't shake that loose. So with .NET Standard Release 2 specifically, kind of the API opened up a world where we could either slowly porting things across or dramatically porting things across. And so right now, everything with the new intelligences, as you say, that kind of stuff that stretches back to pre-2004 when Clemens Vasters was running the show. And so what we have with ASP.NET Core now is an ability to integrate old and new, be on the cutting edge and reaching back on some very solid code that still works, that still does everything it needs to do, and just have a new layer of abstraction on the top.
Okay, so if I go back over here and look at this, by the way, I just added this thing. Have you seen this little wonderful thing? See this button here?
What's that?
That is, yeah, man, this thing is called, where is it? It's a new extension I just got turned on to. Here it is, Octotree. Game changer. It's a Chrome extension called Octotree, and it gives you an Explorer opening on the left here, injected.
That's just beautiful.
Isn't that ridiculous? Because you're always poking around the source like this.
Yeah. You
don't want that.
I don't want to keep my
You want to do this.
thing.
See, look, I can even see your misspelling here. I'm going to send a pull request. So all of the Newtelligence stuff, if we open up one of those like runtime I worked on this. After Clemens left, it was me and Omar Shaheen for years and years and years.
Sure.
And if you open up the CS Proj, this is the old style CS Proj. But because you're using .NET Standard, you're just opening these up basically as they are, and they're getting just run alongside. And then all of this stuff, .web.ui, if we open that up, that's NetCore App 2.
Right.
And then you've got project references over to your other standard stuff.
Yeah.
And you're reusing, what do you say, 50, 60% of it?
All the heavy has not changed. How it accepts new blog posts, how it stores that to the disk, how you retrieve all your blog posts, how you query the list of categories of posts you've created, all that heavy listing has not changed at all. I've just simply put a layer over the top and said, how can I reach into that old stuff and get it? Even the idea that DasBlog was config based, right? So it would put everything in either XML files or some XML based configuration file. All that has not changed yet, and we can decide if it needs to. But as of right now, it just reaches down into that old stuff. So what I essentially created was the DasBlog.web.repositories folder, which was my idea of how you can. It's not really a repository, but it kind of is. I wanted to simplify the calls that are made down into DasBlog services or DasBlog, and each one of those kind of represents a big portion of something it's calling into.
Hey, real quick question. Your microphone, someone said it's a little boomy. What microphone are you on? Like, what do you think you're using? I don't think you're using that one. Could you hit the little gear in Hangouts and just confirm?
Oh, sure. 1 second. Let me see if I can switch it. Which one is this? Speakers. Try that. Is that any better? Sound the same?
No, it's the same. You're having usually when I see you, you're high def and totally clear and 1080p and looking good. Today you're a little pixely. It's all good. Just curious if tap on the mic you think you're using?
Just switched it again. So is that any?
No, that microphone is not hot.
Okay, 1 second.
Maybe you plugged a mic/headphone into a headphone-only jack. That's all good. That's fine.
No, okay.
Okay, so going back over here, this is DasBlog.web.ui. This is all new code using ASP.NET Core. And if we recall how DasBlog works, I could actually go into FileZilla, which is what I use to the high-tech stuff that I use to manage my my blog. Okay, and I go in here and look at the blog under content, and then just pick any one of these. These are all files that are basically XML files that represent our database, for lack of a better word. Right? Yeah. There's one for each day. So if we pick one and go view edit, bring it down, this is the glory and the wonder of XML, right? So entries, entry, basically just HTML encoded content, nothing controversial there. It certainly could be markdown if we wanted to change it. We could basically have inline markdown and then swap it out for, actually that'd be an interesting idea. We should do that one day. Right, just store markdown and then here in content, we just go like this. Huh?
I just, yeah, I put that little.
You okay? Can you see?
Oh, yeah, that makes perfect sense.
I was just thinking about that because people are always complaining that we should be able to type markdown. And then down here.
I'm just thinking, that's a potential new issue we can look at later.
Do me a favor, and just while we're talking, go ahead and just turn off your camera, and we'll see if I can hear you better because you're dropping out.
Sure.
Thanks for your patience, and I apologize. All right. So you see here, right? We've got ISO 8601 dates and categories. this stuff all works, and you used all of the code that reads that, the engine, as is, all the runtime, right?
Exactly. So if you were to kind of follow where blog repository goes, which is a kind of a repository folder, a repository project, right beneath that, inside the repository project is everything that is essentially the ancient DasBlog, the thing that we're used to. Everything here would be written as it would have been if we were essentially, except for the dependencies and injection stuff, everything is written as you would expect it to be written.
Right.
So if you do go to get blog post, what you're essentially doing is passing an ID, and the data service, the underscore data service, is quite literally the original that was left to us from the original implementation.
And then you went through, we used to have a thing where we'd go and say, get service, but in a number of places, not everywhere, but in a lot of them, you swapped out, like you said, to injection.
Right, exactly.
Yeah. So we tweeted about this and have been talking about this, and you've already set up a number of issues and went and put help wanted in good first issue to get newbies on.
Exactly, yeah.
And look, you've already got people showing up. And have you had some pull requests?
Yep, 2 pull requests so far. From others, obviously, I've done it, but 2 pull requests. Quick shout out then to A Techie Thought and Chill Ryan. Took us up on doing a few tag helpers. We wanted, the idea that you would have these markup in DasBlog, which was essentially our own version of some kind of Razor engine view.
Right. It was called a macro, and it was pretty cheesy. Yeah. I'll bring up an example of a real one. In fact, actually, unless you have one already here, where would I find the macro that was under DasBlog UI themes?
From the original one, if you look at DasBlog, you have to look at the intelligence. So as your
I see. Actually, I'd probably have to go back over into the regular one. And I remember that it was in source, Intelligence, web, themes. And these are all the names of the different themes. Sure. So then here's like item template. And we had like this. And it was somewhere between today's Razor and yesterday's web forms. It's not web forms, to be clear. This was a made-up language.
Yeah.
And this is a made-up language 16 years ago.
Right. It kind of a foreshadowing of what Razor engines do today, to be honest. So that just seemed like an obvious kind of connection to make, and is to use tag helpers to create these kind of small bits of markup we can inject directly into our views and start using them. So folks have been, attacking these good first issues. And anybody who's out there who wants to attack one of these or needs help, I'm more than happy to. You can reach out to me on obviously GitHub or Twitter, and I'm happy to walk through it. If you're new to DasBlog, happy to walk you. New to GitHub in general, happy to walk you through that as well. So you can
So let me update then locally here. I've got DasBlog Original, Super Original, and the one I'm currently running. I'm going to bring down DasBlog Core. And we had talked about getting this to run on Linux and different things like that. But for now, it's still a Windows thing, which is fine.
Yeah. I think you're going to have to work towards that one. Yeah, there's some interesting challenges, I think, with that. I'm certainly thinking about what we had in a non-platform specific way. And I'm willing to work through whatever's kind of antiquated and needs to be changed.
And do I still open DasBlog all?
Yes, yeah. I've got rid of the rest for this context because I want to make sure we're
well, I do that. I apologize again. Do check your mic or see if you finish your poking around. Because again, I usually talk to you and it sounds amazing, and right now it's not. And I know you're a music and sound person, so you appreciate how that is.
Let me see if I can twiddle it.
I think you're talking through your webcam mic, maybe.
Okay. Let me try a few things here. Give me a quick second. You can kind of talk.
So while you're doing that, I'm going to open up this here and see how it looks. I love the idea that the bits that have no UI are the same. It's still the same DasBlog that we know and we appreciate, and it works. Like there's something to be said. Like, yeah, we could rewrite the whole thing, but it's hard to even want to rewrite it when it works just fine. So here I will go and get a bunch of packages and stuff. Do I just do a straight build?
Yeah, just do a build. It should pull down the packages for you.
All right. Couple of obsolete warnings, which are totally valid because they're old.
Yeah.
Nothing wrong with that. And people might say, why do we bother? Why don't we go to WordPress or whatever? But I tell you, this stuff works well. It works, and it works well, and it works on my blog without any issue. The only thing I would really change would be like some of the new features like AMP and things, but we're being able to add all of that stuff. We've added stuff completely. All the new HTTP things we'll be able to add. We'll even be able to add HTTP 2 with this as well.
Yeah.
All right. And then I run DasBlog Web UI.
Yes. Yeah.
I wonder why the dependencies are banged out, even though they're not.
Yeah, I haven't looked at that in a great deal of detail.
I suspect it's not your fault. I think it's just Visual Studio being dumb. All right. And do I run it under IIS Express or under Kestrel?
IIS Express, so at the present, but yeah, that's a good point. Maybe Kestrel should be one of our options there.
All right, let's check it out. Okay. Hey, we got Tiago from Brazil. You have someone from Brazil. Hello, Tiago. How are you? All right, this is okay. This is cool. So here we are. This is Bootstrap Theme. I'll. Do I have to register, or is there a?
There is no register at the moment. This is just, I guess, whatever default theme left there. We haven't really set it in.
Now it's asking me to log in. This one says /login. This one says account login, and then 404s.
Sure. Yeah. So. Essentially the only thing that works, and then I guess that would be a good place to start.
Yeah,
so if we actually go back to GitHub, we just kind of go through the things that we've kind of worked on in this context and go to the homepage.
Yeah, that's a good point. Let's see the state it is. So here the idea is we're swapping out the themes to use Razor. So we're going to switch from a DasBlog style to themes.
Mm-hmm. And
you said, let's not be afraid to toss things that we can, we don't need. Like, there's no reason for me to do time. Like when I wrote this with, after Clemens left, time zone math, we had no nota time.
Right.
We should toss that out and add nota time, right? Yeah. It'd be great if it built in Linux from the command line, but it doesn't right now.
Right.
And we've upgraded everything to the 4.6x.
Yeah, that gives us access to, it gives us access to standard.
Yeah. And then I thought this was very clever. You ended up using view location expanders to support themes, because the idea with themes is that there's different folders underneath themes. The file names are the same.
Yeah.
So you just would have a different name under theme, and it would go to a different folder, which is cool.
Right.
Now, this was a thing that I've been asking about, and we both hate about our own blogs. If we go to Hanselman/blog, if I hit this URL right here, that may have looked awesome 15 years ago. It looks stupid now. I would like it to be, I'm thinking lowercase and hyphens.
Yes. Yeah. I'm with you.
Agree?
Yes, I'm totally with you there.
Except maybe like the word I, but we would basically have a URL fixer, right? And then I would like to then take and rewrite everything that has this one to have this be the canonical.
Sure.
And then maybe use rel canonical to express that as well.
Sure. I was thinking about that, and part of what I've been trying to do, because obviously with our blog, I've been doing this for like 12 years, I want to say now. So that's a lot of content with a lot of people pointing back at me that will never get the chance. And so one of the things I wanted to fix almost very quickly is how I responded to old posts. So we've got to be able to not only say what it's the new canonical, but also be able to respond to a perfectly valid old post in a way that doesn't break us, doesn't break, send Google into a tailspin. So that part of that is solved already with that, and we'll kind of look at that later as well. Some of the redirects that you can do just natively is pretty straightforward with
exactly. Because if I go down here to month view and look at like 2015, right? That's a ton of blogging.
Yes.
I would hate to break any of that.
No, yeah. I know you are, maybe that needs to be one of the tenets on the front, is no URL left behind. We cannot have.
I like that. I like that.
You just can't. Yeah. The web is good, and I'm like, we don't want to break any of our existence.
Totally agree with that. Okay. So what state is it in? This is not done. This is not. Oh, sure. A very kind person on the chat right now just pointed out that it's not tenants like people who live in your house. It's tenant, as in thing you believe.
Ah, thank you.
So congratulations on your open source, Jim Lin, for giving us that. All right. So this is not done. This is not like the unveiling of a finished thing.
Okay. No,
you've got it to compile and it runs. And what can we do?
Yeah, essentially this is we can get right now. What it can do is read the current list of submitted posts you have in your contents folder. Essentially, you can start.
Where would that be? That'd be in content, like under www root.
Yep, www root content, and in there, if you were to list 5 of them in here, you could change the date.
Do you mind if I just grab a couple from my blog?
Please do, please do. Now, it's not going to obviously, unless you pull down the associated images, it's not going to have those valid. Yeah, but everything else should be good.
Okay, let's find out. What I'll do is I'll go to here content, and I'll grab the last. I'll grab 2018.
Sure. Now you are grabbing feedback as well. The comments, essentially comments, and then that's not taken care of yet.
Yeah, but day entry is all that you're talking about, though, right?
Yep.
All right. So I don't have the Explorer extension enabled. Oh, my GitHub crap. Sorry. Web UI. Now, right now you're under www root, but we should probably figure out some mapping way to put that somewhere else. And then we should think about, someone else suggested Docker, which I think would be really interesting. And then another person made a comment where they said, what about testing? We did have some decent tests, but I wouldn't say it was extensive by any means.
Yeah, so the older stuff needs more test coverage, and the newer stuff, I need to catch up with what I've done, to be frank. Okay, but yeah, I got enough grief from my coworkers on that one.
Yeah. So I just put a URL in.
Yeah.
I need to
So restart. You may need to restart this, because I think this does it and it caches it, and then it goes from there.
All right, let's try that. And then you and our blogs differ because you include the dates. Oh, now you're just showing off. Look at that. That's my blog from today. Oh my God. Well, look at that.
Yeah, this is when that did that, I was like, this is doable.
Well, and this is what's so cool about coding and open source in general. Just this idea that, like, is this insane? Is this a dumb thing to do? And it's like, wait a second. I could do this.
Yep, exactly.
That is DasBlog loading my content out of my existing files unchanged from 15 years ago into core. Now it's like, okay, now we need login, now we need cookies, now we need comments.
Yeah.
This is fun. This is fun. Here I can see you've got the dates, you've got the tags.
Yeah. The edit,
you've got the beginning of things like edit post. Because see right here, you've got but look, the URL is right. You've got the GUID /edit. So the beginnings of editing are there.
Yeah. That was thanks to Ryan Hill, by the way.
Good job, Ryan Hill. Yeah. I met Ryan Hill in Atlanta
Oh,
a
cool.
while back. So let's do this. Run me through how this loaded up.
Sure. Okay, let's run back. Let's go back to the controllers in the MVC UI, which will be, okay, let's go to the controller and let's go to the, I think it's home controller. We may have to mess with some of the locations of these things, but so in here, obviously I've got two, I've got blog repository, which essentially is me saying, how do I get things like blogs? How do I get things related to the blog posts? And so each one of these, each one of the actions in this controller represent how I chose to load it. How I've selected to load that data. So get front page post is actually the name of the original. That was actually the name of the method that was way back in DasBlog days, but I kind of wanted to have a one-to-one in that regard.
Right.
So this is saying, give me however your DasBlog config has defined a front page, which could be 2 blog posts, could be 1, could be 15.
Right. I remember that. We used to say some people wanted 10 blogs on their homepage, and others just wanted 1.
So what repository is saying is I can get that information from the original XML file, and I can deliver your 5 blog posts with this call. And so if we were to go look at blog repository, the actual implementation of blog repository, which is again in the repository folder, we should be able to see how I've exactly set that up. So there should be a, let's see, cool. Yep, that's the one. Actually, yeah, XML RPC, get to that later. That one was a complicated one. But yeah, let's go to the top. Let's go find the method that I just mentioned, but get front page, I think it was called.
Okay. Oops. Trying to control comma. Let me do it. My binding is all screwed up.
Just, yeah, perfect. All right, so this code will actually look much more like the original DasBlog code. There's something that we can do here, but again, I'm trying to get the proof of doing this here almost immediately. So notice I hard-coded language filter. That's one of the things it needs. Again, probably things we need to look at. If you
and this would be something we would maybe inject in.
Yeah, in fact, that's actually something that did take care of. We can probably fix that pretty quickly.
We would inject in the headers and just have it be part of the context that flows in. And exactly. Time zone arguably could be as well, right? So now this is an interesting comment. Richard Valdivieso is saying maybe this could be a microservices implementation, and I don't think so. But it was service-oriented for the day, for the time. Sure. It had a log repository. These repositories, archive, blog, category, security, are all a kind of service, just not a microservice. I wouldn't break DasBlog up into pieces and have us, call it with HTTP. But externalizing things and responsibilities would have value. Yeah. So, like for example, here you're asking a question in the middle of get front page posts, and again, this is my code, not don't feel bad. If someone has set the configuration to prefer a certain display time zone, go and get these different time zones. All of that belongs elsewhere and belongs centralized. That would get passed in. The language filter would get passed in. So ironically, basically the whole function would turn into a helper for this.
Yeah.
Isn't it?
Yeah.
It'd be down to nothing.
Yeah.
And then interestingly enough, we dig around for settings and site configuration. That can be an interface. You've made that an interface already. We could inject those as well.
Yeah. That is, in fact, that gets defined during start of all the DasBlog stuff.
How are you thinking about responsibilities like get front page posts? Is it that thing's job to then go dig out front page day count and then pass it into a more generic get the entries for the day?
Well, so there's still, I guess, that's a good question. So the thing is, you still need, until we decide what we're going to do with the old DasBlog,
Yeah.
you still ultimately need to call it in the way it expects. So I guess it's about what was the most important problem to solve today. And in that regard, I think having a place where you essentially call things as they were called is going to be important, which ultimately means you're tying yourself to not.
That's a good point.
Yeah, you're not. Yeah, go ahead.
So paraphrasing, this may not be pretty, but it is the bridge between the new world,
right,
which is here,
yep,
which is pretty,
yep,
and the old, which is not. So the question is, do you rewrite DasBlog from scratch and build some new thing that reads in XML files?
right.
Or do you leave the stuff that's worked for 15 years and don't bother it, and then you have a little bit of ugliness, but that allows the controller to be clean, because right now you're just effectively doing a projection.
Yep, exactly.
And then this is the nice part again, right? Grabbing the theme, the named theme.
Yeah, exactly. Now that, I think that needs to be a bit pretty. I think we could do better on this thing.
Well,
here.
yeah. So that's funny that you mentioned that. So I was thinking about this. So you've got this one here, right? And you go over and look at that. That brings in a view result, right? I would make this that.
Yeah. Okay.
Right?
Yeah.
And then what I would do is pass in probably page. And not even that bit.
Sure.
And then this. Right?
Yeah.
I'm totally brainstorming here.
Yeah, no, it's good.
And if we did that, hang on a second, I'm totally brainstorming here. I hope you don't mind. I don't mean to like derail us there.
No, it's good.
If we did this, then this is a iView result. The view result? View result, not iView result. And this is right?
Yeah.
And then view, though, is a helper on this, right? Yeah.
I think you just need to close something, did you?
Yeah, I very likely did not do something right.
Oh, you did. What's that complaining about?
3 arguments. That's because the theme is there and the V is there, and then this goes over here. See what I'm saying?
Yep, got it.
So then you move that out. You've got controller.
So we'll probably need to do a base class maybe, and have a few things that all the classes will need to.
Not sure if this is a helper or not. Don't know. Yeah. But my point being, though, that then the question is, yeah, see, I should have thought about this first. But then this turns into.
Exactly. Yeah.
And I assume LPVM. Yeah. You don't mind me doing this?
No, go knock yourself out. Knock yourself out.
All right. Cool. I shall knock myself out. So then I'm looking at this and I'm wondering is it always page? You know what I'm saying? So now I'm wondering if the word page is not.
So we are okay. So if I haven't looked, that's a good question.
Well, so if I go like this, return view.
So it is when you are dealing with the main page, which is pretty much what everything in home is dealing with.
Even single pages?
Single pages was the idea that I've clicked on a particular link. And
have we done that yet? If I click, can I go to just one yet, or is that not done yet?
Yeah, so there's no links to it, but if you were to carefully get that, everyone, not that long one, that would take too long. Grab a smaller title.
Well, everyone should have a dash cam.
Yes, perfect. And then don't put anything in it, and don't put the ASPX at the end. I think that should work.
Oh, look at you.
Yes. Yeah.
Nice.
So the reason why treats it slightly different, because if you remember, there's the things like a metadata that's at the top of the page, so it has to know whether it's a single page or a multi-page kind of thing. So I want to know if I'm looking at a single post because I may need to reference Twitter in a particular way.
So who is that? Which controller grabs a single page?
Same one. Let's go to home. I think there is a action that has a value gets passed to it. I think it's either an index or maybe both, an index and a string. Yeah, so that one would respond to a GUID. No, is that right? No, that's the wrong one. Sorry. That's for
like you've got something sophisticated going on in routing that we should explore.
Yes, that's a good point.
So with all due respect, let me back up over to startup. And this, I remember the first time you showed me this, I thought this was just genius, because it cannot be stated the fact that the configuration of a DasBlog is non-trivial. Like this was the config file. Okay. And there's a ton going on in here, you know, and yours is very different from mine, right?
Yeah, exactly.
And what's interesting about that, though, is that you were able to add it with effectively no change.
Yeah, very little. Just maybe a couple of lines here and there, but it was very little. Right. And those are the three main XML files for DasBlog.
And this right here, reload on change, was one of the most revolutionary things DasBlog did, and it's still now it's one. Now it's even it's not even a function; it's an attribute on a function.
That's amazing, isn't it?
Okay. So where's your routing? Ooh, okay, there it is.
Yeah, here we go.
Look at that.
So that's me saying, if something comes in and it looks like the original format, I still want to be able to deal with that, right? So if it came in with, as you've noted it on your blog, we should be able to handle that situation, and that's what that one is about.
Are you literally, like, let's look at that. So you say map route, post title, action is post. So I go back over here to post string, post title.
Yeah.
And you go blog repository, get post by post title.
Yeah, which is essentially what the original one does.
Okay, and we go over there, and then you're off into the repository looping through stuff.
Right, yeah, if you go back to your blog repository, you should be able to see that. And yeah.
Get post. I wonder why my control comma is not working. Oh. You know, what's the thing that you push to like navigate to? What was control comma? They moved it. You know what it is to go to like shoot.
I'm not sure.
What's the thing to navigate to? Watch me Google this. Control comma in yes 2017. It's become another. It's Control T. There it is. Control T. Okay. Go to. Okay. You said it was get post. Yeah. See.
Actually, not the XML RPC. We'll talk about that later. That gets
get blog post.
Yeah, get blog post. And see blog that just post. Reaches into data service, which is which is just get entry.
All you're doing that, and then you project. And interestingly, we've seen this multiple times as well, where you pass in a post view model, and do a projection. So I feel like there's value in a helper function here.
Yeah,
I've seen that. Is it the same thing every time? It's not.
It should be, yes.
Well, here you've got auth. Look at this. Let me split these. See? So here's entry, content, categories, description, title. You didn't include created local time.
You know what? That was because somebody did a pull request and create local time is now a thing. And he just probably didn't realize that it needs to be added to this one. Yep, that's kind of two issues.
Right.
Two with the
well, so
repeats.
there's two issues there. There's fixing that, which is easy, but now that's a copy paste thing you have to chase around, right, forever.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So then the question is, here that's a single list with a single model inside, and then this is a select over a conversion that gets turned into a list. So we should come up with a helper of some kind, a mapper, that'll take, like, and this is another interesting thing. If you look at AutoMapper, I think I've blogged about this. I think I've shown you AutoMapper before.
Yeah. I've actually used AutoMapper once.
Oh yeah?
Many moons ago.
But it's been around forever, right?
Yeah, that's a good solution.
Example. I don't know if it's be fast enough for what we want, though. It depends. I'd have to go and see. I think they used to do a thing where they would generate the mapping code. But even left-hand, right-hand code like this, the only difference is I'm just looking at, you've got select entry, and then I'm looking at how you project, and then you say to list, and here you say new list, and it's only got one. Anyway, that'd be an interesting thing, and that could be a fun helper function for someone to do as a beginner.
Yep.
And then you say single post, and then that's interesting. You put those in view data. Now, why is that?
So the metadata I was talking about before. So if I'm looking at a single post versus, and again, this was me just getting it to work, so please judge me too harshly. But you're looking at data in your header of a particular blog post versus the opening home page. So there may be title information you'll need if you've got a single post open. That is different to it if you've got your home page open. So the home page will obviously be a combination of 5 or 6 posts, but the single one will be specifically about that blog post itself.
Right.
And so you would need to treat the single post different in terms of the view, its metadata, than you would your home page. That makes sense?
Right. So then, to be clear, like rel canonical, which is currently not filled out here,
right,
but would be for a single post.
Right. Yep. Exactly.
Would be a piece of data, and then the question is the view model responsible for just things within the body, right? And then view data is like stuff in here. And what's nice about your solution, I think, is this is a list of name value pairs. And this always changes. There's always stuff that ends up in there. There's always stuff that gets added. So then here, single post can literally dig out whatever it needs to dig out. And you could even pass in a dictionary here if you wanted to, and throw stuff into view data, which would then show up in meta. So it's almost like single post, with metadata. So that makes sense. I get that now. And then here, the default page, as you point out, is using the canonical and the stuff that is built in the configuration. That is a nice. So let me look at what I've done so far. So I should probably ignore those or delete them. And interesting, what have I done with runtime and test? I don't remember messing with those. Sometimes you end up boogering up the thing by messing up Git just by opening a file. Now, what did I do there? So interesting. Look at that. That's bizarre.
Huh.
I don't think I would want to check that in for that reason. That sounds like just the version of Visual Studio that I'm using has changed something.
Are you on Community 2017?
Yeah, but I'm on some internal build, some new, the version that comes out later. But git add. Actually, let me diff that first. That's when I did that little helper.
Yep. Yep.
Maybe you can teach me some. Maybe you can teach me some Git.
Oh gosh, funnily
how
enough,
would I do a pull request of just this?
So I can show you how.
Boogering up all of this.
See, I have a UI only way of doing it. I haven't even really got into the again. You're making me do confessions on this.
No, hey man, I'm the one saying help me do a single Git thing.
So what I tend to do is I create branches for everything.
I should have done a branch before I did this then.
Yeah, they're incredibly cheap. And that this is something I actually only started doing a few weeks ago because I realized how it changes my workflow. So I create a quick branch. It's so fast. It's really mobile. I can start an idea, start throwing anything into that particular branch, and then I'm pushing it back. But I use Visual Studio to do all of this. I don't even go to the command line. So if you look at Team Explorer,
seriously, there's like an advertisement for VS, and I don't even use this feature.
So you look at this, you've got branches. So click on branches.
Branches. Okay.
And so if you right click on that master, it knows about Git. And so you can create a new local branch from that master. And then create a name for
helper.
Sure. Actually just did a blog post about this as well, which is why I'm kind of yeah. So yeah, create a branch that's your local. It doesn't exist anywhere else. If you can switch between them now.
There you go.
Yep, that's it.
Okay.
And so I do all the changes that I need to. You can obviously you haven't got anything in there now at the moment. I think it's probably switched you over and lost your changes actually.
No, they're right there. And if I go, this gentleman, Steve Gorley, just here says try git add -I.
Okay.
Interactive add. Let's try this. What now?
Oh, what is this? Would you just
staged, unstaged, add untracked? I want to add that one.
So you have to stage them and then?
I don't want to add those. I'm freaking out. Try that again. Git status. Okay, I only want home controller. Git add -I. Okay, I want number 1 there. Commands. Add untracked. I don't want those. Oh, untracked. Okay. Status. Update. Help. Status. Add. Do I get to add that? Ah, it got boogered up again. Huh.
It literally said, huh.
People are laughing about us now, which is painful. It's like, I think we should, I've never seen this before. That's untracked items. Git add. See, hang on. Git status. That's cool though. I know I can go and say git add DasBlog git commit -, small helper function bad commit message. Right? Git push. Oh, but see, here's the other thing, friends. I'm upstream of you. See, this is the thing, though. This is where I always get nailed with Git. I get excited. The origin is you, Papa String, not me.
So
So what I should have done, see, this is where I get turned around, right? This isn't your fork. This is your whole new world, right?
Right.
So
exactly.
I need to go and say fork.
Yeah.
Fork it over here, right? So now I'm making a fork because this is where I should do the pull request from, right?
Sure.
Okay. Yep. Now this is my origin, right?
Right.
I'm gonna lie. It remote set origin. No. Remote URL origin. Remote show, get remote show origin. Okay.
Oh, so now you're pointing to your fork now.
Right. So I'm pointing to my fork because I want to do everything over again. Oh. So now I'm going to push that upstream to my origin. I could have changed, like origin could be one and upstream could be another.
So let me just have a look.
Did I ever commit the thing? Git status. Git log. Git push. Small helper function. Oops. Let's go and bugger it up. Stupid Git. Golly whiz. I'm in the middle of some interactive thing in Git, and now it's mad at me. Try again. Add upstream. So Steve Gorley, who is very nice and on chat right now, explain the difference between origin and upstream. Am I origin and he's upstream? You know what I'm saying? I think that I'm origin and you're upstream, but maybe I'm wrong.
So okay, so
Git push small helper function. Not up here. Git push origin small helper function. Okay. There you go. See? Recently pushed branches. Right?
Okay, yeah.
Compare and pull request.
Yeah.
Point arrow pointing to you. Create pull request. Scott wants to merge. Now I'm back over to you.
Right, I see the pull request. Yeah.
Right,
cool.
and then we confirm that it's tidy. Upstream is the repo you forked from. There you go. So let's tidy up. See, thank you, Clifton Craig. I know you. So let me go here. I'm gonna go back down and I'm gonna say git remote add upstream top of string git remote show. There you go. Origin where we came from.
Mm-hmm.
Upstream the boss you.
Gotcha.
He says, yeah, you would swap those. Origin is the fork. Yeah, that's good. So I'm good. Tell me I'm good, y'all. I'm thinking right.
So
am I right or wrong?
So I don't make this is right. So you forked, right? You made a change.
I forked. Made a change, but
did you branch from your fork? Or did you go make a change there?
That's a great question. So here's what happened. I cloned from you.
Okay.
Without thinking right. I goofed around, made a branch locally.
Gotcha.
The branch is local at this point. The branch has been pushed nowhere.
Gotcha.
I changed the remote. The remote doesn't change anything. The database is the same. Nothing's been happened, right? So what I did was I just changed the origin, and then I pushed to the only place I could push the name of my origin, which is me. This doesn't have to be origin, right? I could call it Poopy Pants. Okay. And as long as it's a name and it points somewhere. So I pointed origin to me, pushed it there, alt-tabbed, and it said, just pushed. I have, in my repository, a branch, small helper function.
Right.
See?
Yep.
And see, Clifton just said if I push to my origin, I can submit the PR. So I pushed to here. Then I popped it over to you. And what's nice to this is that now you don't have small helper function, right?
Yeah. Okay. Good.
And now
Yeah,
Steve Gorley is being very kind and saying get remote -v is a cleaner way for me to show what I was trying to show with multiple commands. And Clifton points out that the branch is remote agnostic. Peter Poskiak just points out that Git is user hostile, which is true.
Which
is agree.
So, I've stayed away from the command line. I have a system,
the thing now, right?
And I'm not going to have you confuse me.
Here's the part that I always do: git delete branch after pull request, right?
Yep.
There's two different ways to do it, right? There's tidying up here. So if I go over to my thing, I'm done now, right? I don't need this thing. This is stupid, right?
Oh,
so I want to.
You've already merged the pull request.
If you merge, here's the pull request.
Yeah.
Would you mind merging that?
Yeah. Okay.
I can do it too because you gave me access, but it's nice. I love that Steve Gorley just had to write a chat. He just wrote down, "Poopy Pants has to be a remote." That is true, Steve. I love that I forced you to say that. Okay, so you're merging, right? Still there?
Yes, and it
there
is
you
done.
Go. Now look, this is a convenience that they added in GitHub a couple years back. Delete branch, specifically the one that's tidy. Now, see, it's gone. We go back over to my world. Small helper function, gone. Here's where I get confused. It's still over here. I can go get checkout master, get pull. See? Fast forward. I just got your updates. Get pull. No, I got my updates.
So for me, at this point, this is where I delete my local stuff because I don't want that reference hanging around anymore. I manually delete the branches I'm done with that are local as well.
Yeah.
And
so here's where I get frustrated also. Now I've done that work and my branch is behind you. See?
Oh, right. You've got now you've got to sync or fork.
Well, so now I'm on a fork, which is where I do my work. And what? I do a pull request back to myself?
So I don't know if is it a pull request or is there another?
Well, so sometimes I'll go and I'll literally do a pull request to myself from somewhere else, see? To basically line me up with you.
Yeah. When I do this again through the UI, I'm just essentially doing a sync and it's pulling down all the latest stuff to my essentially my master, my local master.
Yeah, I can also go pull upstream and get the changes from master. And it puts a little thing here that says, well, yeah, you got those two things, but now you got to pull them, right? So I just pull from upstream, right? And then I do get push master or origin master. Right? And now I'm lined back up again. So if I go here, branches 2 commits, branches even with master.
Okay.
Right. You get pull upstream. And this is the thing though. This is a lot to ask of people. Right? And there's some cool UI tools that will like give you better Git. I forgot what they're called, but like better Git command line. And it's like Hub, that's the one. Have you seen this?
No.
It's a Go tool called Hub. And basically you say things like git fork or git pull request. And then they do all this stuff underneath for you. Yeah. So I think I did that correctly, folks. People are saying, yes, absolutely. Giovanni says, pull from the upstream and push to the origin. And I believe that's what I just did. So I think I did that. The part that I don't like is I don't like typing git pull upstream master, git pull. I just want to say git fix it, put it back the way it was, and update me. You know what I mean? And then, of course, all the while dancing around these unknown changes. Who knows if those were a good idea? And I haven't decided if we want to git ignore these or not yet, right?
Right.
Very stressful. I find the git part the stressfulest. Stressfully most.
I found a little. I've eliminated a little bit of that stress. I'm going to be honest. The blog post I've just done.
Is it? Let's take a look.
Take a quick look. I talk about this whole thing because I was I just wasn't getting it, and so go to the blog.
Oh, what a lovely blog! Is this DasBlog?
Yeah.
Oh, look,
yeah.
This is great. This is a good reminder to everybody. You and I get along because you blog for the same reason I blog. Yeah, you're blogging this for other people so that they might learn. But frankly, you're blogging this for yourself.
Exactly. Yeah.
Right. So that you can go back and refer to it.
Yeah, I tell everybody I purposefully have a really bad memory so I can learn, so I can focus on what I've got in front of me. But blogging helps me kind of get a really quick, okay, this is where that information is. I literally don't have to worry about this. And so that's what this is. I know I won't know how to do this 2 months from now. Yep,
I do the same thing. I've been blogging all these years so I can go back and search for myself. Yeah, and see, now everyone's saying, well, yeah, you can make aliases. I know that I can make aliases. I shouldn't have to. Don't make me do this. I should not have to. All right, why don't you turn your camera back on as we exit, because I think we're getting to the end here, and I have to go make dinner for the children.
Sure.
But I'm afraid we didn't actually do any hacking today, but I learned a lot more about how this works, and I get what needs to be done. So hopefully people will speak up and maybe jump in, because you've already got some pull requests.
Yeah.
And there's definitely interesting work to be done.
Yeah, folks who would have been contributing, they've been reaching out to me, and I'm happy to help. And like I say, anybody get going, even if you haven't done GitHub before, even if you haven't done MVC before, I'm happy to kind of point you to the right resources and get you going. So reach out.
Very cool. So far we have 46 viewers and 9 thumbs up. Thank you everyone for your time. We are certainly not at the Twitch level. And actually, if you're interested in, good point, speaking of Twitch, if you're interested in checking out some cool live coding, would be Jeffrey Fritz. Jeffrey Fritz live. Jeffrey Fritz. I don't know how to spell my own guy's name. It's live.jeffreyfritz.com. He is doing live coding, and he's got a whole setup, and he wrote up exactly how he did it. He's on Twitch. And check this out. Have you seen this? He's got a green screen.
Yeah, I was just looking at him, and he was doing the design layout the other day, and it was excellent. Just I don't know how they do that thing, by the way.
Yeah. He explains it. He actually has a whole thing on how he set up the streaming. So check him out. And then, by the way, Clifton Craig, you said you missed most of it, all on YouTube. So it'll be up in a minute. And then Suze Hinton. Have you ever seen Suze?
No.
Yeah, you like this? Suze Hinton is huge on Twitch. She is No-Op Cat.
Oh, wow.
Okay. She does this every Sunday.
That's cool.
And she does, check this out. She has chat. She has, mostly she's doing, and she has this really sophisticated setup here. I believe that this is mostly command line and like Vim and stuff, but she's got all kinds of cool stuff in her prompt. She's got the chat running along the side. Every Sunday does this for hours, and mostly does Node and Arduino, but has like 6,000 followers and is really a very talented talk and code and interact all at the exact same time. So between Suze and Jeff, that will give you all of your live coding fix. All right. Cool. All right. I will talk to you offline, and certainly check out github.com/papastring and learn more about DasBlog. And I will see you again at some unpredetermined date, because we don't do this regularly.
Cool. Thanks.
All right. See you, man.